I'm Dave. I'm the number 4 son in Tucson, Arizona, married to Kim. I want to share one thing about my dad. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but there's only one eternal truth that is so real, and he planted it inside of every one of his kids and every one of his grandkids. Thank you, Dad. The reality is this: God is real. Jesus Christ is real. He's the Savior of the world. You must put your faith in Jesus Christ and receive him, or you will be lost. And that lost is real and it is eternal. All that my dad has done or didn't do doesn't matter. That one spiritual truth he left inside of every one of us, and there's no greater legacy that you can live. Thank you, Dad. Love you, and God bless.
One of my favorite memories about Grandpa was when we were kids. Grandpa and Grandma were watching us for a few days, and we went to the grocery store with Grandpa, and on the way out, the sign said, "Right turn only." And typical Grandpa, he said, "Well, I'm gonna turn left," and he floored it and went left, and me and my brother started cracking up. I always laugh when I think about that story. I love him dearly. I'm gonna miss him a lot, and my wife's gonna miss him a lot. She learned to love him in a short amount of time. But in my grieving, the Lord really brought a scripture to my heart, and it said, "God is not the God of the dead, but of the living." Grandpa's not dead. He's alive, and we're going to see him again soon. We love you, Grandpa. We'll see you soon.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know who we are, I'm Derek, and this is my wife, Cindy. And I want to take this time to remember the good times of spending time with my grandfather. And I remember being at my grandpa and grandma's house while our parents were out of town, and we would play a lot of Atari, and we'd watch a lot of Riverdance for some reason. It was always awesome, though. We would shoot BB guns and drink Pepsi at dinner time, and we would have bread, a lot of bread. I remember he would always call me a scallywag, and for quite a while I really didn't know what that meant, and I still don't fully know what it means, to be honest with you. More importantly, though, he had a love of Christ that was deep, and he instilled that in all of us and in my family, and it's echoing out across the country with all of us being spread out, and it's reaching people to this day, all because of his deeply rooted love of Christ. I love you, Grandpa. Miss you. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers, scallywags.
All right, Grandpa was just, he gave us all a lot of memories. There's too many to count of the meanings, different meanings that Grandpa made in our life, and just, he really impacted a lot of us. We all have different memories. Some of them are so similar. So we just want to kind of let you all know a few of our favorite. So go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, okay. One of my favorite memories with Grandpa is probably when I was in like the 3rd grade. I got pneumonia, and Grandma and Grandpa were babysitting us, I think, at the time. And one night I woke up and my fever was ridiculously high, and I was hallucinating. And I remember Grandpa. Sorry. I remember Grandpa getting me and taking me back into my bedroom and rocking me back to sleep. And that's just one of my precious memories with Grandpa. Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. Probably the one that really sticks out the most for me is Brandy and I were staying the night with and I don't know, just sitting in bed at night before he put us to sleep, and we were just sitting there doing crossword puzzles and just working on together. I don't know, it was nice.
Grandpa, I had a lot of awesome memories with Grandpa and Grandma, but I'd say the thing that impacted me the most with just watching them was just my favorite memories was just sitting there listening to them talk about God and their love. It's just indescribable. It was just so beautiful. There's just no words to describe how much they impacted us. And honestly, my favorite memories, there was fun things like he had gummy worms were his favorite, and different things, but I think my favorite thing was just watching him and Grandma sit together and just talk about God. It just really was beautiful.
Yep, all the time that we spent as a family, as a whole, it was just it was a good time. We spent a lot of holidays and that together in their house, and that was always memories that all of us will share. Christmas especially, it was just a really good time, and just wanted to say I love you guys, and I'll see you again.
Love you.
Love you.
We love you.
Well, I'm going to start by saying, Grandpa, I love you very much. And, you can't build a big house without a big foundation. And that's what you are to us. You and Grandma. You've been a solid rock foundation in the Lord for our entire family. And it's a real big head start in comparison to the rest of the world for our family, and we very much thank you for that. You're a great man, done a lot of great things, more than we even know. I thank you very much for the opportunity and your willingness to anoint our daughter. It means a lot to us, and just gonna say that I'm gonna hold up my end of the bargain there, or my side. I'm gonna keep my promise and raise her the right way, and the same goes for any of my possible future children or child or whatever happens. I'm gonna raise them right, and that just all stems from you, Grandpa and Grandma, and we love you more than we can tell you, and we thank you so much for everything you've done for your children and for your children to pass on to us and us to pass on to our children. It's a blessing. We love you very much.
Hi Grandpa, hi Grandma. I know the intentions of this video are to kind of talk about and reminisce about the memories or life lessons that Grandpa instilled into us. But in my opinion, in order to talk about Grandpa, there's really no way to talk about him or think about him without also including Grandma. Because for him to be the valuable person that we all know him to be, both in life and in passing, he couldn't have been and wouldn't have been who he was without Grandma by his side. And so everything that I have to say about Grandpa, or all the things that I think about Grandpa, they include Grandma, or they pertain to Grandma just as much. I remember being probably 10 or 12 years old and staying the night over their Adrian house in Michigan. And when we would stay over, Grandma would often put us to bed probably 2 hours or so before we were actually ready to fall asleep. And so I remember laying there on their couch, waiting to fall asleep, and thinking to myself that when Grandpa passes away, I want to say something at his funeral. And that was the first time I think that I remember that thought coming into my mind. And at 10 or 12 years old, I don't think I fully understood the magnitude of how special Grandpa was to me, or what he meant to me, or why he meant what he meant to me. And so as I was, as I grew up, or as I was getting older, I was able to kind of witness the world for what it was, and the people of the world for what it was. And as I learned how they were, or how the world was, the more I learned about that, the more I realized how valuable my grandparents were to me. And the reason why is because no matter what difficult challenges I was faced with, or no matter what situation I was put in, whenever the world had an offering to lay at my feet as an option and a path to take, I always had my grandparents in the back of my mind as a compass, in a sense. because they were unwavering. And so whenever I was given an option from either the world or from God, I always had that small voice in the back of my mind that told me that my grandparents weren't going to change or didn't change. They were always followers of Christ. They woke up in the morning talking to him, thinking about him, being with him. They went to bed talking about him and thinking about him and being with him. And through doing all of that, praying for each and every single person in my family by name every day. And so no matter what situation I would find myself in, or no matter what roads I would have to come, whatever crossroads I would come to, I always had that in the back of my mind, that my grandparents, they kind of set the tone. They kind of gave me the bar. They were the benchmark. They were our sounding board. Anything and everything we reflected off. What would Grandpa and Grandma do? How would they react to this? What would they say? So they were always those people to me. So no matter where I was, no matter how far away from them I was, I always had that to remember and that to look back on. Thinking about my grandpa as a person, he never really had anything in excess in life, except for family and love. The only thing Grandpa had in excess was family and love. But just through those two things alone, and his discipline, but through the family and through love, tens of thousands of people are going to hear the name of Christ. They're going to hear the story of Christ from one man, from one man's discipline and one man's efforts. Tens of thousands of people are going to hear about Christ. And in those tens of thousands of those people will probably or already have had a moment of silence when they heard that Larry Dahlberg passed away. And so a man who was given no more than just about any of us here listening today had, the effect that he will have through the resources that he was given are a standard that any of us, or including myself, just would love to achieve or to be close to. Grandpa and Grandma meant the world to us from the beginning until now. And in Grandpa's passing, I think his memories and his lessons are going to ring even louder in our heads, in our minds, in our hearts, because in a sense, his work here is finished. His work here is complete. I on a personal level, don't feel that I missed out on anything. I don't feel like I missed out on anything with him. I think all of the stuff that I needed to hear from him, all of the things that he needed to say to me, I think that God provided all of that. I think that the legacy that he would have hoped to leave behind is the legacy that I have for him, the memory that I have for him. I may even be so bold as to say that I don't know if I'm going to miss Grandpa. I don't know if I'm going to miss you, Grandpa. And it's not because I don't love you, obviously, right? It's not because of that. I think that I would miss you if our story was unfinished, was incomplete. But the stuff that you needed to leave behind for me, I've got it. And so I'll see you again in paradise. I might miss you here and there throughout, but in the big picture, man, not a day was taken. Not a day was robbed. Everything that I needed you to leave for me is here. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your discipline. And thank you so much for your integrity. Every single day, all of us fight battles and face challenges, whether we create them for ourselves or the world creates them around us. It doesn't matter, because you were facing those same challenges, those same troubles, but you never wavered. You never took a step off that narrow. And so, being 27, going on 28 years old, I've got the rest of my life ahead of me to filter all of my challenges and all of my difficulties through the footsteps that you put in place up until now. And so I can't thank you enough for it. I've been thinking a lot about this right here, and I think I'll be so bold as to say that I believe that my grandpa, Larry Dahlberg, lived a life that can only be described as what God is doing with men of the Bible who were born after the book was written. My grandpa is a man of the Bible who was born after the book was finished. Grandpa, I love you so much. From the gummy worms to the BB guns to the teasing, all of it. You were just about everything to us. So we thank you so much. We thank you so much. And I'll patiently wait, but at the same time, I can't wait to see you again in paradise. I love you, Grandpa. I love you, Grandma. And I love all my family. You know, the ones who are here watching this today. I love everybody. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much, Grandpa.
I find it really difficult to sum up who Grandpa was. But if I could just mention what I appreciate most is, of course, that he taught us to fear and love God. But not only did he teach us to fear and love God, but he led by example. And while doing that, he taught us so many things that he maybe didn't even intend to, but just came natural for him. And the main thing I appreciate is he taught us what it really is to be a man. He always put his family first, no matter how much it took and how hard he had to work. And he always stood in truth. The scripture that comes to mind when I think of Grandpa is Proverbs 28:1. It says, "The wicked flee though no one pursues, but the righteous man stands bold as a lion." That's Grandpa. He stood boldly in truth, even if it hurt your feelings just a little bit. It was a true privilege to have Grandpa as the leader of our family, and I am so thankful for him and what he left behind and the fundamentals he taught us that have gone from generation to generation already and will continue to do so. And he wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for Grandma, so I thank you too, Grandma. I love you all.